In my opinion, this is a fundamental book to read about chess because you want to know about strategy. Well, strategy is dictated by the pawn structure. In this case, this book tells you about the use of the pawns to control the center. In fact, it begins the book showing us the Romantic era, Morphy and Andersen. Why? Because in that time, the author says, and here it's interesting to hear what the author says, okay? He says, the chess master of the period did not build a pawn center, and he did not use pawns to occupy the vital squares of the board. On the contrary, pawns were used to disintegrate the center, which rapidly became open following early exchanges. So he says, it is that disintegrating open center we can look upon as characteristic of the period, and the method of play can be seen as the most valuable legacy of the epoch. A couple of selected games will illustrate this point. And here now you know why you want to buy a book like this, because it's giving you the tools to understand other games. You see a game of 1850 or 1900 and you will start to be able to understand what you are watching and why. In this case, we are going to see the game Rosanes against Andersen, played in Breslau, 1861. Rosanes plays with e4, e5, f4, d5. Okay? E takes d5, e4. And now there is bishop b5, which is given a dubious move sign. He says, today we know of better continuation, but there was little established theory in those days. It was the time of exploration, when players often forgot that material advantage was not necessarily worth so much. So practically he's saying that in the time the beginners were greedy and that greediness brought them to fall. After c6, d takes c6, knight takes c6. Recapturing with a pawn gains a tempo and is more energetic. So he says this is better. Yes and no. Why? Because as you can see, it opens black the b file, and that obviously is an advantage, but at the same time, after you have two isolated pawns, that will become a target, okay? However, yes, this is a very interesting move, very good move. Knight takes c6. As you can see, it's important the meaning you give to the moves. All the rest, honestly, doesn't matter much. Now, if you were white, you should probably play not knight c3, but d4. Why d4? Because you want to open the lines for your pieces. Instead, knight c3 doesn't really do that. Okay, so after knight c3, knight f6, trying to defend the pawn on e4, and queen e2, reiterating the attack on e4, and bishop c5. A powerful developing move, with obvious threats on the e file in the air. Black does not worry about the e4 pawn. The key idea is to develop and engage one's forces in the battle as quickly as possible. So this is also the lesson from Morphy's game, that often you give up a pawn to gain obviously an advantage in terms of time that you will use to attack the enemy. Okay, after bishop c5, obviously knight takes e4, castle, because this idea is to play rook e8, right? Bishop takes c6, and b takes c6. And then there is d3. Again, we see a typical game of a day. A lead in development is pitted against a material advantage in a position with an open center. The scene is charged with tactical threats. Yeah, so how does black continue here? Obviously, black continue with rook e8. After which there is bishop d2, knight takes e4, d takes e4, and now what would you play as black? Let's see if you can try to guess the next move by black, by Andersen. Okay, Andersen played bishop f5, because if you take, it takes the queen, right? So white plays e5, but then black continue with queen b6 that attacks on f2, and of course attack f2, g1, a good move, and then of course let the other rook free. So it could go here, it could go here, it depends, right? So here white plays this move, which obviously it's just moving in the mouth of the enemy, because can you imagine, there is everything attacking this castling. The problem is that he couldn't castle on that side because of this also, and at the same time he had to move the king from the center because of an obvious threat, right? So what can you do? I mean, it's terrible, but I don't see much else at this point. So what do you think black played here? Because this is also interesting, I think. He played bishop d4, after which white played c3, and of course here if you're black, what would you do, no? Because you need to put yourself in black shoes and say, here how would I continue, because that will definitely help you to improve your chess. Rook a b8 is the move that black would have played, and not that black played in the game. b3, rook e d8. Okay, here there is some analysis that shows how the king, the enemy king, is in a mating net, that you will find interesting because it's based on this move, c takes d4. Okay, please remember that there is this problem too, so just try to see all the pieces, okay? After rook e d8 he played knight f3, that is a mistake, and after that what would you play if you were black? Try to find the next continuation. Black played queen takes b3, a takes b3, rook takes b3, and of course now black is nearly giving checkmate here, so he tries to escape, right? He plays bishop e1, but it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work, this bishop e1? What would you play if you were black? If you were black, you played bishop e3, boom, and the game is over. Because again, here there is a checkmate. So if you do this, if you do that, if you take this, even better, there is still the checkmate there. Okay. And here it says, the lesson of these short, exciting games is clear. In the sharp position arising from the king-pawn opening, the aim of both sides was to develop quickly, to seize the initiative and to attack first. In order to achieve that, no sacrifice was considered too risky. Chess was played with delight and abandon. With such an attitude underpinning it, the game of chess was an open fight. The center was subordinate to the principle of development. So as you can see, here there is an entire school of thought, because it tells you that the center wasn't important because the control allow you to attack on one king, on one side or the other, one wing or the other. But here they tell you we don't care, we just open the center because quick development is everything. And in fact it says the structure often broke down in the early phase of a game. The central pawn were exchanged or sacrificed in order to seize the initiative. The center was open, inviting vivid tactical play. It was time that counted, each tempo was priceless. And of course, you can find much more explanations in this book that I believe is really great and is a must read for those who really care about chess improvement. Thank you very much for watching.